Hey, this is Khalid Farouk Hayek with Urban Kids Universe, and welcome to UKU Impacting Education Show, where we help ECEs, childcare directors, homeschoolers, and parents make an impact. Today, we are going to talk about the first day of childcare. And today, I have with me Paris. She is an early childhood educator and UKU ambassador. Hey, what's up?
Hi.
Welcome
I'm glad
back.
to be back.
How's it
We
going?
are talking about a very exciting topic today. I'm very excited.
Awesome. You know what? Just before we start, I want you to introduce this topic to us. And also, I want you to introduce some of your experience about this because you worked there for too long, right? Okay,
Yes, of
let's go.
course, sure. So the first day of childcare can be very scary for a lot of children, especially infants, toddlers, and preschoolers. They're still at a very young age where they're still very connected with their parents. This is a child's first time away from their mother and father. They're in a new environment, unfamiliar faces, unfamiliar people around them. It's completely normal that they start crying and screaming. I actually have a lot of new kids that are starting in my class. My cat. I have a lot of new faces in my class this year so far, the beginning of September. And there's nonstop crying right now just because it's the first time away. They're very connected with their parents. So it's a lot, especially during nap time. They're still crying. They'll wake up in the middle of nap and they'll cry. Everyone wakes up and they're like, oh my goodness, like I just wanted you guys to sleep. That's okay. It's very overwhelming for sure because you don't know what else to do besides have their mother and father back, which is why we're going to be talking about a lot of things that we could do.
Yes, awesome. And I would love to focus and go in deep to answer some questions that parent has and some like what they're thinking. Sometimes they don't ask the question, so I ask the question on their behalf just so they feel that comfort, right? So let's
Yeah,
start talking about it.
sure.
Okay. I'll start with my first question here. So I, as a parent, if I feel, let's say, guilty leaving my child all upset in the morning when I drop them off, is this normal feeling? Like the guilt, is it a normal feeling that you think?
Absolutely. It's very, very normal. This is the first time for parents too, just letting their child be at a new weird environment that they're not used to. It's very, very new. This is very normal for parents to feel guilt as they're dropping their child off when they're crying and screaming. You just got to keep remembering that it will get better from there. They will adjust. It takes time. It doesn't happen within a minute. People think that it can happen very quickly within a day, but it takes time.
You mean for the kids? Here is like let's go with another question immediately related to this one. Had you had parents who they are crying as well, like the parent crying?
No, no, they just felt bad. They're like, I feel so bad. I'm so sorry. And I'm like, it's fine. It's new. It's time for them to adjust to a new environment. It's completely normal. I have to keep reminding them that every single time.
Yeah. Did you have a challenge where the parent they just came back or no?
Some parents do come back fairly early throughout the day. Like they'll come back like right before nap time or just after nap time. Just like dead center in the middle of the day and just pick up their child. They do that for probably the first week, just so they can have like a short time at the center and then come back home. And then the child ends up slowly getting into the full day program.
Well, if this was a plan or like a strategy, I strongly agree with it. Like they ease their child into the new products
Yeah.
instead of just slamming them. Oh, this is 40 hours a week. You're just gonna stay there. So I believe that's a very good strategy, right? Okay, let's keep going to the next question. How long should I expect my child to fully adapt to the new environment?
Every child's different. You're going to have to always remember that. No matter how close you are with your child or how distant you are with your child, it's going to take time for every single child to adapt and adjust. It also depends on how much socialization the child has had before coming to childcare. If the child has been exposed to a lot of unfamiliar outdoor surroundings, other new children, or whatever. But I know due to COVID and everything right now, a lot of children that are starting childcare have not, because a lot of parents are afraid. So it's a lot harder right now because they can't go out and socialize. But it just depends on that, basically, like how much new people they're already exposed to and how much they're out and about in that new environment.
What, like, do you have, like, based on your experience, any average time, let's say per weeks, let's call it? I believe also per age. Like, what is the age that you have right now?
I have what's the age? I have up to 2 years old, so I have like 1 to 2 around there. So they've only really spent a whole year with their parents, and they don't really understand a lot of social cues out in the environment anyway. But due to COVID, I've had a lot of parents say, "Yeah, we haven't brought our kid out. We're afraid of them catching anything. Like, what do we do if they do become sick or whatever?" So it's just in the matter of how the parents are really socializing their child and how they're interacting with them.
Yeah,
every child will be different.
Yeah, awesome. You know what? Here immediately I can add, like, let's call it an action point, or like a message to parents. It's also our duty to, again, to ease their way in. So, like, just before the, let's say, like the first day, let's call it, maybe 2 weeks prior that, start socializing them with the relatives more, keeping them a little bit, let's say, with my in-laws a little bit for maybe an hour or two, my mom, like, just keep them, prepare them for that. It will absolutely make a difference in both ways, like with the child and with the parent. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, totally agree. I totally agree. Even getting like your friends, like family friends and everything involved, because they don't see them very often, so they're fairly new faces. Getting them familiar with, like, I get it, like grandma and grandpa, they're essential to socialize with the child. But getting people that they're not used to seeing, like family friends and cousins, will help them adjust to unfamiliar faces.
That's absolutely correct. Yeah, I got it. Let me go ask the next question then. Okay, so this question gonna go to you. So, as an early childhood educator, how would you help my children or my child to adapt and feel welcome to the new classroom?
All right. I always get this question by parents all the time.
Right away, you got it before, during an interview time, or at the pickup time and the drop-off time?
Like drop-off time, they would be like, how did they do? How did they adjust? What do you guys do? Because usually in the morning, parents don't really have a lot of questions to ask. Usually they generate all their questions throughout the day, and then at the end, I'm like bombarded with all these questions. They're like always asking me like, what do you guys usually do with new children? How do you guys kind of go through your routines? They want to know everything. So with this question, for starters, I'm always there for the child, no matter what, whenever they're upset. I always tell them it's going to be okay. We're going to have a lot of fun. I keep reminding them that we're going to have a lot of fun because they understand that playing is fun. So seeing all these toys, a busy room is very overwhelming, but at the same time, they know that those toys are going to end up playing with eventually. So what I try to do is I try to tell them it's going to be okay. Mommy and daddy are going to be coming back, because they think that they're being left there forever. I feel like they think that it's like the end of the world. They're never going to see them again. And I totally get that. I always remind them that mommy and daddy are going to be coming back. And I also try to pull out as many activities and toys out as possible to see what attracts their attention. And then once something attracts their attention, they tend to lose their focus on crying, and they redirect to playing and focusing on the activity. So then from that point on, the first couple weeks, I will automatically, when they come in crying, I automatically try to give them what they like. So then it helps them calm down, and it makes them feel like we pay attention to what they like. We pay attention to who they are. So I've actually done this before this week. I've had a new kid that loves tractors. He adores them. I don't have cars or anything in my room, so I actually went and found some to introduce into my room. And one of them was a blue tractor. And every single time this kid comes in, he cries all the time. So I actually automatically give him the tractor, because he adores them because they live out in the country. He like literally sees tractors every day, 24/7. So that's why he's obsessed with them. So I give him the tractor every single time he comes in. He automatically stops crying, and it's wonderful. Especially during nap time, he'll wake up from his nap and cry, and I'll give him a tractor, and he sits there quietly, and he just like plays this tractor.
Wow. And you know what? Like, and I know each center has different policy, but you guys, do you allow the parent to bring, let's say, one of the familiar toys from home so they can really keep playing with that?
Yeah. So usually I do eventually, after a few months, when they get comfortable, I do start to wean them off of it. But I do allow them to provide us with things that they're familiar with to help them calm down with their social anxiety that they usually have whenever they start in a new unfamiliar environment.
Yes. So, like, as a part of my question, you just answered that I am always there for the kids, like as an ECE, and also I'm pay attention to what they need. So I just also make it really a fun day for them. What else I should expect from you? Let's talk about a part of the education part. Let's call it
the education part,
like the personal. Yes, like what else I should expect as a parent that they're gonna develop in their personality. Let's call it.
When they start to calm down, they understand that this is an environment they're gonna have to get used to. They're gonna understand this is gonna be their new norm. I have done circle time with my new kids already. Shockingly, they are pretty developed in vocabulary and their speech, so they're able to talk a lot. So during circle time, I usually pull out some new things. I use a lot of songs. Usually songs catch a lot of young children's attention. And they actually end up catching on to that. Like I would play some songs off the CD on like a stereo. And once Head and Shoulders come on, everyone starts dancing. Even the new kids, they'll start dancing because it's familiar to them. They understand that that's something that like is going to be brought into their environment they already know. So luckily, their parents have prepared them with those songs. So I'm like, yay, we can use those.
I believe you can see it in their eyes. Oh, I know this song, so they start just jumping.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah. Or if they're still crying during like songs, whatever, I try to encourage them to start dancing. I'll start dancing myself beside them while they're crying. Like let's dance. Like let's like do Head and Shoulders. You know, I start like trying to get them involved in these activities because I don't want them to be excluded from them. I want them to keep participating and engage in whatever we have provided for them.
Nice. And like here is another question. It's very important. And during my research, I realized that some centers, they have a special, let's say, application that they use, and they report to the parents the activities of the day, and like they answered some questions. In your center, do you have such thing that you connect with parents, or you just tell them at the end of the day if they ask you that question at the pickup time?
So usually we do have our program plans that are posted outside of our rooms, but parents aren't able to come into our center right now. They just drop off the door and they leave. So
they cannot go inside.
Right now they can't go inside. No. I know some other places are different, but right now my center, they can't come inside. They used to be able to, not anymore. Soon they will be. I don't know when though. But usually we'll have a program plan set out outside of our classrooms. And it shows all the activities and then in the domains of what they are corresponding with that we're doing throughout the week. And then I also post some of the sample artwork that we've done already outside in the hallway and in my classroom. I have 2 different boards. And then right now I'll just tell the parents what we've done or highlights of like what their child has done throughout the day.
Nice. And like let's take this answer and apply it back to our topic. And by the way, just before I continue, I absolutely believe we have to go with multiple topics about the child care center. So let's apply this one to this exact topic, which is the first day of school. Of child care, where I'm still having some concern as a parent. So when you report all of that back to the parent, do you feel that, next day they come with a little bit different mindset, with a little bit different like emotions as parent? Like what do you see difference when you report back to them?
Yeah, so when I report back to them, I usually want to stay positive throughout everything that I am saying. I want to be able to let them know that it's completely normal and how they're feeling and acting in the center now. Some parents do have concerns. Every parent is different as well. Like some parents take things to the extreme and they take things in a different way that we don't mean. And they're like, oh, why'd you say this and whatever. And they'll be messaging my supervisor nonstop. Um, so we do have to be careful on how we're wording everything, so they understand what we mean and not put it into a negative perspective. But I try to put it as positive as possible. Even if it's something that didn't really work well today, like they weren't ready to share with other children. I'm obviously just that's how I'm gonna word it. They weren't ready yet. It's not like, oh, they just didn't share or they were snatching toys away. I'm gonna say they weren't ready to share. Because they're eventually going to have to adapt to trying to share. But I want to word it in a better way that doesn't sound as negative. It doesn't make sense.
Absolutely, it absolutely makes sense. And by the way, this absolutely already related to my next point when you said some parent, like every parent is different, and some of them they really wanted to contact my supervisor. Okay, so let me ask you this question: if I have, as a parent, if I have a concern about my child adaptation in the classroom, okay, so I connected with you and I still have a concern, who would I talk to? Who you advise me as an ECE tutor?
All right. So usually when a child is picked up, the teacher that's in the room with them would usually be bringing them to the door. So if you do have any further concerns that you develop throughout the day until later, and you pick up your child and you share those, you're talking directly to who will make that change. But if you do have some major concerns, I would advise redirecting you to speak to the supervisor/manager, just to get more of a broader perspective, because I can only tell so much until I have to report it to my supervisor instead. So there are situations.
Yeah, and you report almost on a daily basis. So if I ask the supervisor, I would have like the time, like I will take my time to understand everything because they already have the full picture.
Yes, yeah. So before I even say any concerns possible, I report to my supervisor and talk to her about it, tell her every detail I possibly can about the concern that I am sharing with the parents. We figure out the best way to word it to tell the parents. And then if the parents, I do have some really picky parents, if they kind of have a little bit more of a concern and want more in depth of what was going on, they report to my supervisor, because my supervisor will already know the entire story.
Amazing. And also like you as a teacher or ECE, like you already like have just so much during the pickup time. Like you have a lot of parents coming in.
Yeah, I only have so much time too.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Let's go to the next question. So how do you prepare your child for the first day of childcare to make a little bit easier? This is the question to the parents. So give us some advice.
All right. So first of all, you could definitely start on practicing independence with your child by, for example, like leaving them in a room while they're playing for a minute, for a short period of time while you go and do something else. They're somewhere by themselves playing and you're not in that room with them because they're used to you being in the room interacting with them. Or try getting them excited to go to childcare. Talk about it a lot throughout the next few weeks before you start. Talk about it. Keep saying, are you excited to go to childcare? Meet new friends, meet your teacher. Get them excited to go to somewhere where they're not going to be happy when you get them dropped off. But try to get them excited. This helps them familiarize a new environment they're unfamiliar with. Some new kids have actually been pretty good because their parents have done this. Yes. This will help them understand the new environment will be their new norm. It'll be something normal to them. Practice routines and sleep schedules. how am I wording this? Practicing routines and sleep schedules, like usually like nap time is usually between like 12 and 2 p.m., like around there, like right in the dead center in the middle of the day. So
I have a question on particular this one. Like, you have a specific time in your childcare. I know each one is different, but in your childcare, do you have a specific time for nap, or like it's on demand whenever the child want to sleep, they go to
we
sleep?
have a specific time.
Okay, so do you advise, which is I believe I would advise that, like I would take that advice right away. If I know when the kids at your child care center will sleep, I would start preparing like 2 or 3 weeks like ahead, right?
Yes.
Start preparing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So basically, even with children that have been with us for a few months already that aren't really good with sleeping, and we bring them concerns about it, like the parents will ask, "What time is your nap time?" And they start with their child giving them nap time around 12. We have nap time at 12 p.m. 12 p.m. to 2. That's our nap time. It's usually the same. I've been at other centers before, and it's usually the same. But we are very strict with what time to do what at. So we every 12 p.m. is when the beds are out. They're all going to sleep no matter what. And getting them to sleep at 12 or around that time for at least an hour would help us as well get them to sleep and cooperate during that time.
Absolutely. Like for me as a parent, when I come back from work and pick up my child from child center, like if they're not asleep, that's gonna make a horrible day. Like the afternoon is gonna be very hard. So they need to make sure the parent work it out with you. So we have them sleep at that time.
Yeah, it does cause some concern when I do have to tell parents that their kid did not sleep. It does cause some concern.
Oh my God, I will have
but
to.
it does make sleeping at night a lot easier because they haven't slept all day. And usually children are used to having naps. So with some parents, they are kind of concerned about it because they aren't like following schedule, and a lot of parents want schedule and routine.
Absolutely, routine is very important.
Yeah. So it's also the parents' job to do their part in getting them to sleep and stay on schedule and do things at certain times, because they are given the center schedule prior to starting their program, so they can get them used to it. It's
how long? Like how long prior?
With my center, we give it a month before because
that's a very awesome. That's a very good time. Enough time to build the routine.
Because we're Montessori, we're very curriculum based, so it's basically kind of like a school. We give them the schedule, everything they need prior to starting. So we already know when new kids are starting. We just the parents will ask for schedules, or we provide it. I don't know what the supervisor does. But they are provided all the information they possibly need about our center. And then from there to when they have to start is the parents' job to do their part in helping us help the child adjust.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Absolutely. Like as a feedback, I know it's gonna help. Like when they don't sleep during the childcare time, I know they're gonna sleep earlier that night. But these 4 hours from when we pick them up until they sleep, like just because I know Senna from my own experience, which is she's almost 3. It will be very hard for hours. Like it will be like I need to grab attention all the time. So building a routine, basically, just simply building a routine with you guys, it's gonna just ease everything away, like moving forward. Now I wanted to elaborate or go in depth from the routine part to also the food time. Okay. And now you have, I believe, give us the 2 advice basically on the younger age where they still get the milk, and for the older a little bit age who get the food, please.
So if we're talking on terms of infants,
or babies,
they are still dependent on us to give them milk and food. So transitioning, so infants, a lot of parents are still breastfeeding their infants at home. It does help to transition them to get used to bottle feeding. So it makes it easier for them. At a center, they're going to want to demand the breast for breastfeeding. they're going to demand that. They're going to want it. They're going to start crying because they're hungry and they're going to want
Absolutely. So a month
transition
prior,
bottle feeding. Yeah.
they have to. Like,
yeah, you have like
it's gonna make it very hard.
Yeah, because you can't like no one else can breastfeed your child but yourself. So
absolutely,
you have to get them transitioned to bottle feeding and get used to accepting food from people they're not used to.
This is another one, very very good. Like even if they get the bottle, they have to start even teaching them to get it from somebody else.
So that's going all the way back to getting family and friends, cousins, people they're not familiar being around, that are comfortable interacting with your child, feeding them and getting them used to unfamiliar faces.
Absolutely. Okay, what about the food time? Like, do you also like try to give them a routine, or when is the lunchtime? So they also build that routine a month prior?
So lunchtime is right before nap time. So if we're talking about, let's say if we're talking about like toddlers in preschool, they can feed themselves and they eat like solid food. Even infants, just accepting food that it's not from home, that's different from what they're used to eating. Raising a picky child is not the easiest when it comes to lunchtime because they don't eat something.
You just raised the concern. You guys provide the food or they bring the food from home?
We provide the food.
You provide the food. So basically they need also to learn to get the food that they're not used to get at home.
We have a monthly menu that we send out every month. Of every day what we'll be feeding for snack in the morning, lunch, and a snack in the afternoon.
Wow.
So they know what their child's getting. If they have any concerns, they can obviously email us or call us and ask us, like, can we like change this? Or they provide substitutes for any allergies that we possibly have.
Awesome.
But when it comes to food that they're not familiar eating, like I've had some toddlers not eat we've had like something that was made with lentils and they're not used to eating that at home. And these kids like didn't eat it at all.
And
like,
they're gonna stay hungry and they're gonna become grumpy as well. So
yeah,
what do you do?
We don't have anything else, but we will try to find a substitute that we have in the kitchen. Because everything's already prepared. So it's like if there's someone that has substitute that has extra, we'll try to provide that and see if that'll work, if they'll eat that. If not, we'll just give them extra like fruits and vegetables before they go for nap time. And then for snack, we'll give them a lot of snack because usually every kid's good with snack. And then we just let them their parents know that they didn't eat.
Yes, and I believe this is going to be like urgently. You have to tell them. You don't wait, like, so because the next day is coming. So what are we going to do?
Yeah, so like I also have another child that he doesn't eat solid food very well. He doesn't eat vegetables very well. He eats a few that are like more softer ones. We boil vegetables so they're easier to eat anyway. Which I've told this child's parents, and they actually said they were going to try boiling vegetables now because they've only been just giving him like raw, hard vegetables. But he likes very small pieces because he used to get vegetables like pureed into his food. So eating solid vegetables is pretty difficult to get him to eat. And he's from an Italian family, so they eat a lot of pasta and rice and stuff. So rice he's fine eating, and apparently he eats pasta a lot at home, but he doesn't eat pasta at our center. So it's made different.
I was just about to mention pasta. Like, do you have like as a plan B always pasta that you can?
Well, pasta is usually served most of the time in the week at my center. Gotcha. That's just how the menu is. Gotcha. Because everything that we feed them has to have some sort of carb in it. Just for filling. Should get them full.
Filling as well.
But it's made differently at home, so the one we make he doesn't eat it. It's weird, but he'll eat rice, like just plain rice. So it's usually most of the kids are good at eating, but raising a picky child that you're afraid of feeding certain foods to, it's not going to help at a childcare center where you're giving food that they're unfamiliar with. They're not going to eat. And then you're going to raise a concern that they're not eating. But what are you expecting us to do? We're already providing food for your kids.
Here is a rule of thumb that I learned as a parent. When you are raising like a younger child, you're not only raising a 2 years old child, you're raising a 4 years old and 6 and 8 and 10. So whatever happened, they're just gonna carry it on, right? So
Yeah.
it's in your favor to not make them picky and try like to
Slowly
really, yeah.
introduce new foods. Slowly
Yes,
introduce new foods. Like every other day, introduce a small amount of a new food.
that's awesome.
Get them trying it. Just small amounts. Like say for example, it's an avocado and they never had it before.
Yeah,
Take like small, very small pieces and feed to them. The next day, try feeding them to them again at the same time. Like say it was like during a snack or something, they were having crackers with avocado or something. Try introducing it, and then the next week introduce a new food. So once a week, a new food. That helps them kind of become more comfortable with something that's unfamiliar to them that they're not used to eating, so they don't become picky. Because it's hard for, as an educator, it's hard to tell the parents, yeah, your kid didn't eat today. It's hard because how else are you supposed to describe it besides your kid didn't want to eat? Like they full on did not want to eat. So it's like it causes a concern for parents because they obviously would want their kid to eat lunch and they basically just want a whole day without eating, besides snack the beginning and the end of the day. But at least they're eating something during snack. But we also always provide fruit after lunch as well. And kids are easy with eating fruits. They love it because they're sweet. They love sweet food. After lunch, having fruit, they're easy with, but eating lunch is a concern. So introducing new foods is also very important before starting childcare, so they're not as picky during the day.
absolutely, totally. Okay, you know what? Here is another question that I just got an idea about when you were talking, while you were talking. So, as a parent, I always like concern my working hours as well, right? Like I need to know what is the sickness policy, let's call it. Like because I believe, especially these days during the pandemic, they take like normal things a little bit extreme, right? Like, and then that gonna really affect my working schedule as well, and it will keep going like rotating, right? Like it's a loop, right? So, like, give us some ideas about the sickness, because I know from Lama and Faru who went to school, oh, they've been sick all year, like honestly, and me too. Like the very first year of school, right?
Yeah.
They got it a lot. But back then, pandemic wasn't there. So, okay, they're sick. They stay at home, maybe half day or a full day. The next day they go. But right now, I believe that they might ask them to stay at home for longer. And that's going to affect my working schedule. I just need some ideas about this point.
Okay, sure. So, obviously right now there's a lot of screening that happens at like public places like this. So we do screen the child. We test their temperature every single time they enter. We have a certain temperature, as I think it's like 37 degrees Fahrenheit. If they're 37 or above, we cannot accept them into the childcare for the day. Or if they have a normal temperature and they look a little dull and their face looks flushed out, they aren't acting right, we usually will keep an eye on them for the first half of the day and then contact the parents, depending, because the biggest thing is if your child is not participating because they're not feeling well. If they're not participating in general, they cannot be in the childcare. The child has to be participating in activities and routines.
Is it because you consider them sick? I didn't get this point. If they're not participating, they cannot be in the childcare for what reason?
Because they aren't feeling well, because they're sick.
Now I understand.
So
yeah.
If I don't mean like in general. It's if they're not feeling well.
Yeah,
and
they lost their energy, they cannot like
so
they physically not participate.
So for example, if I had a kid that she wasn't feeling that great, she looked very flushed out, very gray, but her temperature looked fine. She seemed a little off, but we were going to keep an eye on her because her parents were like, yeah, she ate well this morning, whatever, like just see, it was just let us like call us if anything else happens. So we're like, okay, whatever. We let her into my room. She doesn't eat snack. She didn't eat snack at all. She was acting weird. She didn't talk at all. She wasn't playing with toys. She wasn't wanting to dance to the music or anything that was playing in the room. And she usually does. It is a very off day. And then all of a sudden, I'm doing diaper change, and all of a sudden, she just vomits on the floor out of nowhere. So I was like, okay, she's definitely not feeling well. And then she starts crying because her stomach started to hurt. So obviously she's not feeling well. So because of that, I contacted the parents. It was literally like 2 hours into the day, not even. Like the parents like just dropped her off. So I had called the parents back over to the center to come pick her up because I can't have a child vomiting everywhere, first of all, not eating, not participating. There's no point in having her there if she's not feeling well to be up to going through routines, transitions, and activities.
Well, for her sake, like we want her to go back home and get some rest or extra rest, right? Like for her own sake. It's not just you are being picky.
Yeah, I know. A lot of parents are like, oh, like she's not feeling well, but you know, like just they were playing this morning. But it's like we have policies that we have to follow.
Well, here is the point why it's so important for me to understand your policy beforehand, so I don't like just try to squeeze my child in that day, even I know they're not feeling well, but I have to go to work, so I have to. No, if I know the policy, like I know for that day, I'm gonna call. Okay, it's not gonna work today.
Parents are always provided policies whenever they start their child in childcare. It's very important to thoroughly read the policies to understand sickness and other incident policies, just to make sure that we're clear on the same page so we don't have any issues when something does happen.
Sure. And during the pandemic, this is the last question in regard to the sickness. During the pandemic, like, is the policy these days that they have to stay at home for longer time? Let's say if they are sneezing or whatever, or no, it's like day to day. You still do the check next day.
Every center is different. Like my center, we still will accept the kid the day after.
Yeah, gotcha.
But if they're kept at home one day, like I do have very cautious parents too, so they will keep their kid like at home for one day, just to like let them have some rest and see how tomorrow goes. But with COVID, like if their child's sick, like it's amongst their choice to get their child tested to see if they do have COVID or not. A lot of parents, I've had parents ask me that already, like especially the new kids' parents. They were asking like, what happens if they get sick? Like, are we supposed to, like, is it mandatory to get them tested? I said no, but if it makes you feel more comfortable, because they're very scared about COVID and the sicknesses and everything. But at the same time, parents do have to remember that they're still very young and their immune systems are not fully developed. They're gonna get sick very, very easily, no matter what. So
absolutely.
Sick is a normal thing.
And they develop the immunity from that sickness during the time. Yeah.
Of course, yes. But if it does make you more comfortable, get them tested, keep them home for a day until you get the results back, and then bring the kid back and provide us the results if you did get them tested.
Okay, well, gotcha. As a questions, these are like my 5 questions for the day, but I, like, as you know, always I would love to always have an action point from you that we can follow, and I would like to just, if you may, just divide these action points on these categories, like some special for parents who has babies or younger age, and also some action points that related to the child care center, and generic one for parents with the older.
Okay, so for babies, it's very important to have a scheduled feeding time and get them like familiar with the schedule with the childcare center for feeding and sleeping. Train them for transitioning to bottle feeding instead of breastfeeding. Train them to accept food from people that are not their mother, people that they're not familiar with. It's very important to have them accept that food. So still slowly start to get them familiar with that. Like I said, friends, cousins, people they're not familiar with. And for sleeping, allow them to have like pacifiers, specific blankets or toys that they're not that they like to sleep with, that help them calm down. Would help a lot.
They bring the blanket with them, if that's gonna help
Yes, if
Okay.
there's specific blankets that they do like sleeping with,
Yeah.
especially with like even with toddlers too.
Yeah.
Infant and toddler, they do have like specific like blankets they like to sleep with, toys they like to sleep with. Some of them
I
use
do.
pacifiers.
Not just
I have a dog that I sleep with. Uh, I highly suggest that those are provided to the childcare center just to ensure that they are able to sleep well, adapt to the environment, but still have familiar items that they are used to having on an everyday basis.
yes. And you always like do not allow the kids to share the toys. It's for that child.
Yeah, it's
You be
just for
careful
that
about that.
child. So I do put it back in their cubby after nap time.
So I don't have to worry about that when I provide
Yeah.
something from home.
No, I do. If they have specific toys from home that they have brought because it's theirs and it's comfortable for them, it provides them comfort and security. I will let them have it for nap time. If they do start crying throughout the day, and they are like they're having a very hard time, they're not calming down, I will give them their toy, help them calm down. And then when they are distracted with an activity or a toy that's not what they have in their hand, then I will go put it back.
Okay, absolutely. Other action points?
So some other action points about the center. It's very important to learn their policy, especially their sickness policy and like vacation policies as well, especially when a kid goes on vacation. Like nowadays, if you're gonna go on vacation somewhere that's not in Canada, and obviously you can't bring your kid to the childcare center for a little bit until you get tested. I don't know how it is right now. The news is very, very crazy right now.
Well, they're gonna be up. I believe they're gonna get it from your management, right? I believe as a center, you already have these coming from the government, and then you are or the public health, and then you use it with the.
So about the center, it is very important to learn their policy, understand the rules and regulations when it comes to specific things, especially concerns. Ensure that you understand the requirements that are required from you for your child, such as like supplies, like their sleeping supplies or ointments, medications, anything they would possibly need. So we're not like stuck on like if they have a reaction to something, we're like, what do we do?
To bring clarity, if I know what's required from my end, I'm just clear about everything, right? Yeah, okay.
And any ointment and medication that is provided to a center, there's always a form that has to be signed by the parent. If that's not signed, we cannot use it.
Yes.
Even like a simple like sunscreen, even just like sunscreen, we can't use sunscreen on your child until we get that form signed.
You guys, okay, here is a question. You guys take the kids out outdoor activities? Mm-hmm. And during summertime, what do? You don't put sunscreen?
We can't put sunscreen on, but usually sometimes it'll be an exception because it's like really, really sunny out.
Really sunny.
We kind of have to.
But me as a parent, I can provide my sunscreen and then I'll sign that form.
Yes.
Awesome. Okay, it's sold.
Yes. Ensure that the vaccination records and their medications are up to date. We've had an incident from preschool where they didn't have a vaccination they needed, and we couldn't allow the child to participate for a week until they were able to get the vaccinations, because they weren't able to get the vaccination until the following week. So you
already mentioned it that in that interview a month ago, but they didn't have it ready, so they have to wait for another week. Okay.
Yeah, so we always make sure these vaccinations are up to date, especially because these are at very young ages. There's specific sicknesses they can easily catch and that are very common in their ages. So we have to make sure these vaccinations are up to date because they're in the same environments of many, many kids. So
yes,
it's extremely important. We don't want.
I believe this is one of the most important parts. Absolutely.
Yes, very important. Yeah. And labels is a big one. Labeling everything that you're providing for your child at your childcare. So when it comes to their bag, their bottle, like their water bottles, shoes, jackets, ointments, sunscreen, everything has to have their name on it. Because we can't share certain things with other kids.
Based on your experience, did you saw I totally believe you already saw different type of labeling. What is the best practical way for me I can bring? Like, is there some type of waterproof type of labels that I can just iron on their clothes? Like, do you suggest any specific thing?
Really anything works. If they don't provide any actual labels, usually a lot of parents will just take like a permanent marker and just like write their names on stuff with just like the supplies that are just meant for childcare. Because obviously they have a bunch of other random stuff at home, but usually a lot of parents do have like the printable like sticker labels. But a lot of my toddlers have to pick those off of their water bottles, so I have to end up taping them back on. So they like to pick them at them, so it's kind of difficult to keep those on. I would probably prefer like just like writing with permanent marker or like iron-on ones, like you said, just because it's harder for them to get off. And labels are very important in the center because we can't be mixing different things, materials together. Like I can't share someone else's sunscreen with another kid, even if it's like the exact same brand. I can't share it. It's that kid's. I have to use theirs.
Well, this is like, for me as a parent, this is awesome news that you're not sharing it, to be honest. So to take that extra one step or one task on my shoulder and label it, like, okay, spend half an hour and label everything, and that's it for the year, right? But
Yeah.
do you guys label it for in case, let's say, a water bottle came and then the child name is not on it? Do you label it on your own, or you just ask them?
I'll just like tape like I'll like put like a little like sticker like label on it because I wouldn't know if the child like the parent would be okay with me writing a permanent marker.
I got you.
So
Yeah.
I'll put like a sticker label on it just to make sure. So for the day I have the labeled. It's also very important for ministry as a childcare center.
Yeah.
Ministry where because they don't tell us when they're coming, they just kind of randomly show up. So to make sure everything's labeled, even beds are labeled. Like we can't share beds. Like the beds aren't labeled. Like are all labeled. Like we can't share any of those. So we have to make sure everything is labeled. So even if a kid has a bottle that's not labeled, I have to label it.
I have a joke, like
literally everything has names on it.
Yeah, I like as a joke, like for everybody like myself who live very near to Costco. So you'll see myself and all of my friends like the same age, we're buying the same jacket from Costco, we're buying the same something. So we try like when they come to visit, all of the same jacket is there. So we have to label.
Yeah, well, actually, there's a lot of kids that have the same type of clothes too.
Absolutely. It just clicked on my mind that the kid's gonna have the same absolutely scenario, right? Yeah. Like so you have to label it, right?
Yes. That's funny though. I like that. That's funny.
Yeah. Okay.
So moving on to some points directly for parents.
Yeah.
Remember that you're not enrolling your child in babysitting. You're enrolling them into a program. You're not hiring a babysitter. You're not hiring your mother to go and take care of your child. This is a program. Being able to accept their routines and their schedule is very important. Being demanding, like, oh, my child sleeps at this time, but that's not nap time. It's not going to work. It's not going to work.
It doesn't work at school. Like, if what should you expect? Can you go to school and tell them, oh, I need them to nap at that time? It doesn't work, right? Like
that's why we provide the schedule and the routines prior to them starting the program.
Correct. Yeah.
It's also easy. It makes it a lot easier to come a few minutes early when dropping off your child to help that drop off transition from you to the educator.
Nice.
Help them understand that it's going to be okay. Like you'll be back. Help them adjust to that environment.
But these days, you're not allowing the parents to go inside.
No.
Before, they used to go inside, and also like for a few minutes, they ease that way, right?
Yeah. So right now, that moment's kind of just at the door.
By talking, yeah. Now I understand. Yeah.
And then it's very important to have your child used to routines and transitions before they start the program. Matching schedules, routines, transition them from one activity to another, so it's not causing a tantrum. So it's easier for yourself as a parent, us as educators, and the childcare in general to be able to go through the day with ease with new children and experience a new environment with them.
Correct. Well, that's awesome.
Yep, those are all my points that I have for all you guys.
Wow, that was very nice. Very, very nice. Thank you so much for your time again. It's I totally believe these action points were, if they put them in action
Yes.
for all of us parents, it's gonna really make everything easier
Yes.
for us and for our kids. Absolutely. And for you guys, absolutely. Well, thank you. Thank you for taking care of our kids as well, guys.
No problem. This is a good chat. This is a good one.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you so much. And until next time, have a good one. Cheers.
Bye.
Bye for now.